All right. Let me send the message to people. Done. Messages sent. Live on YouTube, live on LinkedIn, live everywhere. Right? Live everywhere. So, if you can hear me, let's begin. The show that we deserve, folks. The show that we deserve. The show that makes everything worth it. Gets us up in the morning and sets us up for the day. Right? The show that makes everything worth it. Let's begin. Let us begin. Happy Diwali, says Mr. Tushar Tiwari. Happy Diwali, Mr. Tiwari. I hope you are doing well. I have a lot of best wishes to share. If you can hear me, should we begin? Can you hear me? Are we good to go? Are we good to go? All right. Mr. Tiwari says yes. That's good. Mr. Magesh Money, happy Deepavali. Happy Diwali to everybody. Let's begin. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We're having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We're working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. A lot of other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines, things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go! But before we go, we've got to follow a tradition, right? You know the tradition? You know the sweet and sacred tradition of the simultaneous sip? Hope you have your beverages ready in your hands. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a cup or mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice, a stein, a canteen jug, a flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. I like some hot water with black pepper in it. And here we go. Nice. Let's do it again. Lovely. It's healing. It's sublime. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what it says? It says that you are not alone. It says that we are in this together. And that's such a beautiful thing to say. With that out of the way, let's begin. Mr. Magesh Money says, in one of the chat, could you cover on emerging alternate investment funds? Sure, we could do that. I know about that. We could do that. But before we begin about that, I have something very interesting to share. Microsoft, senior people from Microsoft, without getting named, just came out with a statement. Again, it's anonymously reported, source protected. So we got to take it with a pinch of salt. But they said that OpenAI's compute requirements, right, could lead to a lot of overcapacity of GPUs and hardware, which might not lead to uh, earnings growth as anticipated, or let's say as hoped. So Microsoft wants OpenAI to essentially broaden its base for all the capex that was needed, right? So Microsoft is 49% of OpenAI, and it has sort of given a bearish perspective of OpenAI and AI in general, essentially. And then there is somebody called Mr. Andrij Karpati. I'm speaking his name in a Hindi way, but it must be Karpati. I don't know. Uh, so he says that AGI is a decade away, not 3 to 5 years away, as Mr. Uh, Sam Altman has been suggesting, right? He says it's a decade away. Then Mr. Musk has come out saying that now my anticipation, my probability for AGI is about over 10%. So again, the time horizon for AI, AGI essentially has been, let's say, expanded, which means that any near term breakthrough in the AI play could be, let's say, should not be expected, right? So, with that, uh, a lot of questions now arise as far as where AI goes from now, because AI is essentially all the market cap growth of US data centers. If you take them out 0.1%, that's what US grew. We've talked about this, viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember. Now, Alibaba has also come out with the news saying that it has made some improvements in the system. It has done its own chips and so on and so forth, which reduces Nvidia's Nvidia's dependence by 82%. So Alibaba's innovations in China talk about reducing the dependence on Nvidia's chips by 82%. Now, what does that mean for the AI revolution in whole, right? As just generally speaking, it's not very good news for AI bulls, right? Nvidia is essentially the company which has been making all the money in AI, 90% of all the money. It made so much of money that in the later years, recently, it had to indulge in some sort of circular transactions where it would invest in software companies so that they could use that invested money to buy chips from Nvidia itself, right? So there's a lot of circular transactions which are happening with AI, with Nvidia, and well, that's going on, right? So if people are starting to talk about AGI being 10 years away instead of 3 or 5, or Chinese companies coming up with ways to reduce dependency on Nvidia, what does that mean for the outlook of the stock play, especially in the US, right? Which is what we discussed yesterday. Madam Geeta Gopinath writing a piece, right? Overexposure to US tech stocks could be a problem, right? Which we had a very long discussion, so we're not going to get into that. But the point is that this is bad news for AI. This is bad news for stocks, US stocks, right? Not that bad, nothing concrete yet. It's still unnamed sources. Earnings are cool. Everything is okay. So there's no problem per se right now, but there are some cracks which people can see. This is bad news for AI. But you know which for whom it's good news. Now if somebody says AGI is 10 years away, at least 10 years away, or AI is not really doing anything revolutionary as of now, its code is bad, the vibe code thing, it's just bad, right? There's not a lot of real intelligence being displayed by, for whom is it a good news? IT companies. Mr. Suman Kumar is so right. No delay. IT companies. It's really good news for IT companies, because a lot of IT people were saying that, people are expecting a lot of this AGI thing to increase code productivity. But as of now, the increase in code productivity due to AI is less than 10%. People are saying 30, 40%, 50% of code written by AI and so on and so forth. And these people have been saying, the IT guys, that it's all BS, right? So you got to take it with a pinch of salt. And they are right. They are right. So the clouds of AI over the Indian IT outsourcing companies, $280 billion business, they are out. The sky is clearing up, folks. Now, I'll have to give you the contrary view to this as well. So, what happens is that a lot of things that pan out are usually not linear. So, when somebody says that AGI is 10 years away or code productivity is not that great, and basis today's projections, it's gonna take 10 years and so on and so forth. A lot of time, people are not incorporating the exponential nature of such growth in their analysis. So they believe things will grow as they are growing. If nothing has been happening for 10 years, nothing will happen for the next 10 years. And then maybe you can see what happens, right? But that's not how growth happens. Sometimes growth happens in spurts. In fact, most growth happens in spurts. And if that spurt of growth comes and surprises everybody, uh, because we talked about this, right? So don't be surprised if this cloud of good news doesn't stay for long and then somebody springs up with a new good news. Like DeepSeek was that kind of spurt, right? When everybody thought that it's all compute, Nvidia sales, it's all gonna happen. DeepSeek came and reduced the cost of training by a factor of like 50, whatever it was. It was extraordinary, right? So that was a spurt. Now, if things happen in that uh, uh, it's if that happens, you can see something crazy happening, and no, and everybody will be surprised. But as Black Swan suggests, you shouldn't be surprised, fooled by randomness. Mr. Tushar Tiwari says, I liked your Google AI overview article. It's not consistent. You know what, Mr. Tiwari? When I read your comment, I got a little confused because I thought my article was not consistent. Right? Yeah, Google AI is terrible. It's terrible. I can't believe it's a $3 trillion company's hero product, which makes like basically all the revenues and all the profits of the company. And it's a piece of shit, right? But anyway, so that was what's going on with AI. Some good news coming in for IT. This, by the way, projection of Nvidia losing steam has been a projection of somebody very important in the ecosystem, and that person is called Peter Thiel, Mr. Peter Thiel, sir. He has been extraordinary with his predictions, with his way of looking into the future, right? He's probably the best in the world. He's never been wrong, almost never been wrong with these futuristic takes on the world and life. So he said that Nvidia is a temporary monopoly. And it is a temporary monopoly because sooner or later people are going to figure out what to do with this GPU thing. Maybe it's a very hard, maybe it's not. But a lot of software companies will catch up and a lot of hardware companies will catch up, and essentially it'll turn into a commodity. If it does turn into a commodity, what you'd not be looking at is that level of dominance. And he also said that all the money made in AI was Nvidia, is coming to Nvidia. That cannot be the case for a very long time. I am sort of bearish on Nvidia. That's what he said. I'm paraphrasing, not the exact words, but somewhere in those lines, on those lines. So he's given some recent interviews, which I'm very excited to read or watch. Some very, very interesting stuff. He recommended a lot of books, which I read. One of the books that he recommended, which I just recently read, was Things Hidden Since the Foundation of the World. It's some extraordinary stuff, right? It's his guru, essentially, Rene Girard, the philosopher. He wrote that book, and that book is about mimetic theory of evolution. Mimetic theory is essentially, it's a philosophy work, and it says that people are trying to copy other people. Essentially, that's just like a very bad one-line summary of it. But yeah, that's what he predicted, and he might just turn out to be right. Right? If China essentially figures out GPUs, and figures out a way to compete with Nvidia fair and square, then it's just bad news from there, right? So, very interesting play, a lot of good things. Good news for IT, of course. For now. Please do not just remember, old viewers of Thinkers Frequency. Obviously, remember you got to take everything with a pinch of salt, and most things happen when you least expect them, right? And IT has a lot of overhang of negative uh, things lying around. So, moving on. Cracker of festive sales seasons ends with a bang. This sale is going to be intact. We've talked a lot about consumer sentiment, great consumer sentiment that's going on, right? A lot of work as far as this play is considered. By the way, automotive companies have left uh, FMCG companies behind in ad spend. So generally, ad spend is dominated by FMCG, but there's so much of action happening in automotive that their ad spend has actually triumphed, leapfrogged FMCG players. Now, why do you think this is happening? Why do you think this is happening, folks? Can you guess why FMCG has not picked up to the level of automotive sector? There are two reasons for it. Of course, there are many reasons for it, but two primary reasons for it. What are those two primary reasons? Take a guess. Quick commerce. No. Mr. Kumar, this is about some systemic problems with the industry itself. So I'll just tell it. It might just be a very tricky question. D2C brands coming up. Oh no, that's also supposed to be a good news, Mr. Tiwari. So the problem is that the whole GST rationalization has been very hard to implement uh, on in FMCG. So when GST rationalization happened for cars, the results were extraordinary and they were clearly very unambiguously evident, right? So the savings that people started seeing when it came to automotives, right? They were just very, very clear. So the demand for, and the second reason is that the demand for automotives had been in stagnation for a very long time. Okay. So Mr. Amritraj says GST cut rate not being shared with customers due to MRP stabilization. That's the actual right answer. Mr. Amritraj, you did very well. So GST rationalization didn't really translate that clearly in the case of FMCG. So they are still adjusting to the rate change. They're still, their inventory and everything. It's not as unambiguous as the automotive sector turned out to be, which led to these problems when it came to GST rationalization. So a lot of industry people have also complained, right, that these people are stealing money because they are not really passing the benefit on to the consumers. And also, secondly, automotive, as I was saying, had a very bad last few quarters, in fact, the last few years, right? So it was stagnating. And then suddenly this fillip came and then everything clicked up, right? So automotive sector essentially benefited much more than everybody else because inherently it was in a shitty situation, and then that basically turned around. That turnaround was difficult to see in the FMCG play. Speaking of turnaround, smartphones have also turned around despite no GST rationalization. Smartphones have picked up. So if you want to know numbers, smartphone festive sales will grow 16 to 18% by value and 9 to 10% by volume, right? And actual sales much have been much more than their estimates. So a lot of good news. Smartphones didn't get any GST rationalization. Then why do you think smartphones got bought? Because when it comes to savings of this level, right? So you were buying a 10 lakh rupee car, and then suddenly it's basically 8 lakh rupees. So 2 lakh rupees is what you save on a car purchase. Now that money essentially goes somewhere, right? Because it's a spending spree. Now that's called multiplication factor, right? Multiplication factor is basically when you buy a car, the person hires somebody, the car is built by other suppliers, so a lot of suppliers also get money. That's also multiplication factor. But there is a spending factor where you're actually going out in the market, and because you're saving money, you end up spending more, right? So the money sort of multiplies, and that's what the government was trying to do. It was trying to take out money from areas where it's not helping and lead it to consumption. That's why, as I wrote in a very viral piece, that betting was banned not because of social ills. Sure, social ills were a problem, but the real reason betting was banned was because all that money is now going to come to the consumption play. So, and that's a lot of money. 1 lakh crore a year. It's not small money. It's if it was dead money earlier, unlocking of that money is extraordinary. Speaking of dead money, it's not. This is not what the government is doing. This is not just what the government is doing. Unclaimed shares portal set for another upgrade, aiming for settlement in 15 days. So unclaimed shares, we've talked about this. Viewers of Thinkers Frequency would know. Unclaimed shares, unclaimed deposits, and so on and so forth. These things were locked, and the capital was locked, right? And this was such a huge amount of money that was locked, and that is still locked. And what they're trying to do is just trying to sort this money out, make it easier for the IRS and so on and so forth to take it. Because if they're being able to take it, they'll be able to spend it or invest it. In either way, it's going to help the economy. Right now, it's just dead money lying around, and the unlocking of that dead money will be very, very good news for the country, right? And for everybody, not just for people who get that money, but for everybody in the country in general. India incomes the profit tempo. All the sectors of economy, if you look at the earnings that have come out, they've done well, right? If you look at auto, if you look at uh, you know gas and steel, all the people essentially they've done really well, except two industries. They've not done well, right? Fourth straight quarter of double digit profit rise, top line growth nears 10%, but two industries have not grown as much. Which are the two industries, folks? We've talked about this. Viewers of Thinkers Frequency know. Which are the two industries which have slightly been lackadaisical? One has been very lackadaisical. The other one is getting better, but not there yet. Which are the two industries? I hope you're having fun with your beverage. Beverage is a lot of fun. One is IT, says Mr. Tiwari. That's correct. What's the other one? The one is doing slightly better, but not there yet. No, not pharma. Pharma is on fire right now, Mr. Sumant Kumar. Mr. Tiwari says one is IT, one is IT. That's correct. What's the other one, folks? It had a bad few quarters. We talked about this. We said this would be the quarter it changes. So it started changing, but it has not changed as yet. It is one of the two industries that have brought down the index. Banking, says Mr. Sumant Kumar. You're right. So banking and IT, that's been so if you read, select companies from sectors including oil, gas, steel have followed this trend, while sectors including banking and IT have been laggards. For a sample of 251 companies, the net profit risen by 9% and 12% from a year earlier, but banking and IT essentially took it down, right? So that's exactly what we predicted, folks, coming out in the open. Very, very good. Very well done, I'll say. Right? Speaking of stock picks, these people are talking about Keynes. Now I've started seeing Keynes everywhere. The missed opportunity. Right? But anyway, DOT signals 5% AGR as SATCOM fee. SATCOM spectrum fee. AGR is adjusted gross revenue. DOT 5%. Earlier it was talking about 4%. It's also not going to implement a 500 rupee fee for an urban customer because that's hard to implement. So SATCOM is gonna come, right? Increased fee, justified. 5% of AGR, not bad. They've capped the number of sales that they can do so that they just don't take over the entire telco industry, which is very possible. So at the moment, what these people are thinking is that they're not gonna hurt telcos. The Satcom play is gonna remain niche because there are price concerns and so on and so forth. Well, these people are very wrong. Price concerns are temporary, right? It's going to drop like a cliff, the price of a Starlink terminal, right? And when it does, it's gonna go mainstream and it's gonna actually hurt telcos. But till then, regulations are gonna help, right? And that's what people are hoping. So this is one of the 2 or 3 industries which are gonna go 10x in times to come. In just 2 or 3 years, 10x. One is GLP, one is the Satcom thing, and the other is any suggestions on which stocks should be benefited with the Satcom play? Asks Mr. Sumant Kumar. Well, that's what I've been wondering, right? So obviously, these people have been cornered by the telcos, Bharti, Jio. They have taken over the Satcom place. So they have their own Satcom service, and then they also have distribution of Starlink. So they are going to benefit. But those stocks are obviously capped in, right? So even if they provide a return, it will be somewhere around a 40% return, which is okay. Nelco is a stock which is possible. Let me check Nelco for a second. I have no clue about Nelco as a stock. I've seen its chart for the first time in my life, so let me see. Oh, for the past year, it hasn't done really well. In the past 5 years, 360%. That's basically nothing. 3x, right? I mean, it's cool, but it's not something. Nelco is something. Nelco looks good, prima facie. Nelco looks good. It's a Tata subsidiary, so that's cool. I'll have to study, but Nelco looks like it's something good, right? Mr. Abhishek Sharma asks, if telcos themselves are invested in Satcom, then they should not be worried about this. No, they will be worried about this. Mr. Abhishek Sharma, because telco's bread and butter is a huge lakhs crores worth play. And whatever money Starlink brings for them, it's not going to replace their bread and butter. So it's a bad replacement at best, right? Mr. Manjunath Madhabal says, but PE is 295 for Nelco. 295. That's huge. But PE is not the only metric, Mr. Manjunath, because you'll have to study it deeper. So let me just do a deep dive on it. I'll come back to you tomorrow about Nelco. I'll compare it with its domestic peers, if any, and then international peers, if any. And then I'll basically look at its earnings growth and also the top line growth. What I'm most concerned about is the future prospect of Satcom. So if I see Satcom taking over like the telco market, at least the B2B segment, and if the B2B segment has a potential of 10x, which I believe it does, right? The earnings potentials, the earnings multiple of the trailing revenues don't really count for anything, right? It's gonna grow and it's gonna leapfrog like anything, right? But I'll have to check. Also, the stock hasn't really been on fire since the last 5 years. Year to date it's static. It's on the red actually year to date. So I believe just PE might not be the holistic analysis that you ought to do while evaluating that kind of a bet, because we are looking at something like a 10x thing, right? So let's see what happens in the play. Moving on. Tech majors keep count up despite one outlier. IT outsourcing has hired people, 20,000 people, despite TCS having fired 2% of its workforce, right? 12,000 people. Infosys, all of the other people have sort of, enhanced their workforce. But workforce decoupling is a no-brainer. IT is no longer hinged to additional manpower, or let's say manpower count for its growth. The time and material model definitely is not cool anymore. Moving on, there's a board fight happening with Tata, right? Tata Sons. Very weird fight, man. So this week could be pivotal for Tata Trust and by extension Tata Sons as the terms of trustees Venu Srinivasan and Meheli Mistry come up for renewal. Mr. Venu Srinivasan, he's the TCS hire, right? And then Meheli Mistry, of course, the Mistry sign. So these people are coming up for renewal. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. It's pretty awkward right now. Whatever is happening with Tata, you got to be very very careful with because these people, Tata has the might to actually, it's like the Atlas for India. Atlas shrugged. If it shrugs the shoulder, India moves, right? So got to be very very uh, what do we call it, careful, or let's say observant or vigilant when it comes to this story, because this is going to move a lot of needles. Moving on, RBL's transaction is going to happen this fiscal year itself, $3 billion. We've talked about this. Let's move on. There is a case study which has been published about uneven gift tax for same-sex couples. So they've alleged, or they've pointed out, let's say, unfair treatment. They've pointed out discrimination. So what happens is that you can gift something to your spouse and it's counted as a gift and it's not supposed to be taxed, right? But if you gift that same amount to your spouse, being a gay couple, right? Then that is taxable. And it's just, I shouldn't laugh on it, but it is what it is. It's funny. I mean, it's not funny, I'm sorry, but it's just what it is, right? So even if you have a stable marriage, a stable relationship, and you're not married, so if you give it to your spouse, it's going to be tax free. But if you're going to give it to your spouse, if you're gay, it's going to be taxed. So these people are alleging discrimination, and let's see what happens there. So they are back in the court again, right? Very weird situation. So what do you think? I mean, the bottom of this is like, no, I mean, you can't even say that this could be misused, right? It's not like people are gonna pretend to be gay couples just so they can tax each other money. It cannot be a tax evasion thing, right? I mean, I won't marry another guy to save tax, right? I won't sign the legal papers to save tax, or would I? Or do you think people would be actually interested in signing papers, like marriage papers, to save tax money? Well, not cool. So hopefully this changes for the gay community. Speaking of this tax thing, remember Shawshank Redemption had this great scene, right? If you remember Shawshank Redemption, Frank Darabont, Morgan Freeman, Tim Robbins, the movie was so extraordinary. In that scene, they say that it's, you can give this to your wife and IRS allows this $50,000 worth of tax free and so on and so forth. That was the turning point of that movie. Very interesting. Well, he couldn't have done it if the warden was gay. Not the warden, but the inspector. Right? Can this gift thing be used for parents? Well, I'll have to check, Mr. Tiwari. I'm not Jeffrey Epstein, right? Jeffrey Epstein is a tax expert, was a tax expert, but I'm not. So I don't think you can tax your parents. I don't know. We'll have to check. Sorry about this. But moving on. Brookfield is bidding 5,000 crore for a logistics platform. So Brookfield is a big private equity player. So it's buying a logistics platform for another private equity player, which is very, very, prominent in the country. So it's a 5,000 crore project, right? And that's basically it serves Amazon's fulfillment centers and so on and so forth. So logistics getting money, even in secondary form, for further development is great news for the country. So let's see how this transaction plays out. Let's move on, folks. Somebody laughed when I pointed out the Shawshank Redemption thing, right? Moving on. CRZ limit, coastal regulation zone limit is being revised. Now, why do you think coastal zone limit regulation zone limit has been revised? Deregulation is the fulcrum upon which this country can be built. Right now, the norms, the regulations are very tight and they are very babu friendly. So they want to bring some sort of self certification, some sort of uh, that kind of a place, so that yearly visits, or let's say monthly visits, which are mandated by law right now, they go away, so that that kind of harassment goes away, because every visit by a babu is an opportunity for corruption, right? So they want to take it away. 12-point agenda to unshackle green regulation red tape, right? That's for what's going on. Some green cover being reduced, that you are mandated to have like 30% green cover, afforestation, and so on and so forth. That's reduced to 10%. The weekly, monthly, quarterly visits reduced to nothing. Then there are other norms that these people are trying to talk about. They're saying that small companies should be totally away from this. So that's not been approved, but a lot of deregulation moves are being planned for the coastal regulation zone, CRZ, right? Overly restrictive CRZ limit, align with global norms. So they're basically following the model of Indonesia and other countries, and that's a very good thing. Moving on. A lot of political chit chat. Man, the discussions are so dumb. So dumb. So dumb. It's just unbelievable, right? I mean, just look at what's happening in the political space. It's just pathetic. Pathetic. I mean, it's just. I mean, if you just read what these people are saying and just watch their interviews, right? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And you know what? That scares you, because what they are doing, they think they're doing, is that they're serving the bottom of the pyramid, and instead of uplifting the bottom of the pyramid, they just want to dump it down, right? They want to, the politics is appealing to the lowest common denominator, right? And when they're trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator, they're actually bringing it down, right? They want, and just unbelievable whatever's going on. But good thing is that we don't discuss politics, so there's no point. India Brazil initiate talk to expand Mercosur trade pact, full fledged agreement, right? The PTA came to effect, has limited coverage, contains only 450 tariff lines of projects. So we've talked about why India and Brazil are warming up. We've talked a lot about why India and Brazil are warming up. Why do you think India and Brazil have such open communications lines so recently? Can anybody guess? We've talked about this, folks, so I expect a quick answer, please. Why do you think India and Brazil are talking about things so deeply? US tariff impact, correct. So both India and Brazil have been subjected to 50% tariff situation. India for buying Russian oil, and Brazil for persecuting its political opponent, Bolsonaro. So Bolsonaro was a right-wing leader, ex-prime minister of Brazil. He was ousted. He was, pushed out of power. He lost an election. Allegedly, that election was jacked, right? And when he lost, they started lawfaring him. The current left liberal Brazil administration, they started going after him legally, right? And when that happened, Trump essentially came raining on the Brazilian administration, saying that don't do this, right? This was not a nice thing to do, but he did that anyway. And so Brazil and India got an unlikely friendship, because both of them got tariff for different reasons. And Brazil and India also have a BRICS relationship. Brazil, by the way, is very similar to the Indian economy, like closest, let's say, comparator for Indian economy. So, but still, Brazil has a much higher per capita income. But overall, Brazil and India have a lot in common as far as the constitution is considered. Both developing countries want to be unaffected by Trump's whims, says Mr. Abhishek Sharma. You're right. Moving on. So I was talking about the people that they bought from, owned and operated by ESR independently. So they ESR and Allianz Real Estates, Brookfield is bidding for them. Moving on, folks. Reliance Retail is launching 600 dark stores. This is going to add a lot of heat to the quick commerce play. 600 dark stores mean a lot. 600 dark stores are huge, right? And that's just going to be a start for Reliance. Of course, Reliance Retail is a company which is in lakhs of crores, lakhs of crores. So you can imagine the heft that they bring on the table. Speaking of dark stores, Zepto also has a lot of cash now, right? They are also going to add a few hundred dark stores as per the leadership, right? Blinkit, of course, wants its dark stores to go up by 3,000 bucks. Oh, sorry, 3,000 units. Swiggy, Instamart, not so much. They can't afford to add a lot of dark stores currently, right? So let's see what happens to these people. It's going to be a bloodbath, right? Flipkart and Amazon are, of course, coming with their own plans of dark stores. It's going to be very, very weird. And you know who's going to get hurt, right? The small and medium businesses are going to get hurt. These people are going to do what they are going to do. But small and medium businesses are going to get crushed, unfortunately, which is very sad. Moving on. Sobha developers are launching 22,000 crore worth of housing projects next 18 months, right? Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, NCR, Pune, Calicut, Thrissur, Trivandrum. So this is very, very good news. Mr. Abhishek Sharma has a question. Quick question. If Reliance wanted to be in the quick commerce play, they could have gone ahead with Dunzo route. Didn't happen. Your thoughts? So Dunzo turned out to be a dumpster fire truck, right? They got sold Dunzo. You know, whatever plans they had with Dunzo, they didn't materialize, but they just got sold Dunzo. And Dunzo wasn't a money-making affair. So if you look at Dunzo's financials, it was a joke. It was a joke, right? So I've written articles on Dunzo. So they raised like 4,000 crore rupees, didn't go anywhere. They were losing money, like for 40 crores revenue, they lost hundreds of crores when their revenue came up to. So they just lost thousands and thousands of crores for nothing. I mean, so Dunzo acquisition was a mistake which Reliance made. And also, even if they tried coming on board with Dunzo, what do you use, right? It's not like the company has a lot of things to offer. But I believe Dunzo's chief, the founder of Dunzo, is a part of the Reliance leadership. So maybe they've retained some talent that they acquired from Dunzo. But Dunzo was essentially sold to Reliance by the VCs. They ended up holding the empty table, which was very funny. Happens to the best of us. If it could happen to Reliance, it could happen to anybody, right? So VCs took it, right? They shined it, and it was a piece of. It was just a dumpster fire truck. They shined it and sold it to Reliance, and I mean, I don't know how Reliance treats these VCs again. But that's what happens. Got it. Thanks, says Mr. Abhishek Sharma. Well, welcome. Moving on, folks. Seat, the tire maker, sees boost from GST cut coming quarters. Of course, GST cut is good news for every industry. Tire industry is not different. Tire industry is the industry, by the way, which depends on auto, right? So you depend on auto. However, you also have an independent life of your own. So even if new vehicles don't sell, new tires do, right? So tire economy, if you look at JK Tires, Seat and all these Michelin kind of guys, they have a very interesting business model, right? They have it's a good business to be in. Very competitive, of course, but they're going to see good days ahead, right? Speaking of tires, Michelin, there's an interesting case study. Do you know about Michelin star restaurants, right? Michelin star restaurants. So Michelin is a tire company, has always been, and they sort of expanded to another area with their ratings of restaurants. So there's something called Michelin star, right? Now Michelin star is essentially given to a restaurant which has some sort of quality aspects and some, you know, legacy or whatnot. So it has a lot of, it has a huge, and they started publishing that, and that began very early. I mean, when did Michelin restaurant ratings begin? Restaurant ratings start year. So Michelin restaurant star rating for it began in 1926. So 1926 is when Michelin as a tire company started rating restaurants, and now Michelin restaurants are the global. It's a global force to be reckoned with. I mean, it's a prestigious thing for I mean, global restaurants. Indian restaurants don't have a lot of Michelin star restaurants, but Michelin restaurant raters are going to come to India. They have a plan to come to India, right, and rate Indian restaurants. That's very interesting. But anyway, there's a question by Mr. Magesh Mani. Will GST get sustained growth, or this is one-off thing? It's gonna give a sustained growth at least for the near future, because all these economies, automotive, smartphone, they had been lagging for a very long time. So if you look at the last 3 years, smartphone 151, 148, 151 million. That was the smartphone sales play. Automotive also 4 million, 4 million, 4 million, right? So it wasn't growing. And now that things have changed, it's gonna grow. Of course, it's gonna plateau. If that's what you're asking, will it plateau? Of course, it will plateau, but it's not gonna plateau anytime soon. It's gonna take 2 quarters at least to plateau, right? So anywhere till February, March, you're gonna be happy, and then you're gonna see some slowdown. But that's life, right? That's part of life. Moving on. Broadcasters and DPOs are distribution platform operators, are divided over new audit rules. So the government wants to, or the regulators want to have simpler audits for the D2H play, because DTH is falling off the cliff, the industry is dying, right? So they want to reduce the regulations for it, let's say audit rules for it, and the audit rules that they're changing, basically putting these people at a crossfire once again, because it's going to have some sort of data breach according to the broadcaster play, according to the D2H play. So, a dying industry at a crossroad. It's no surprise, right? DTH companies say access could expose sensitive operational data and disrupt workflows, right? Because they say that you could have a common audit, or let's say something like that. So not happening. Let's move on. Audit framework amendment aims to make the audit framework more structured and transparent, and to reduce disputes between broadcasters and distributors. However, both sides have raised concerns, right? So that's what's happening. Allows broadcaster representatives to be physically present at a DPO office. It's very complicated. Moving on. Delhi's air has turned very poor yet again. Of course, the whole play where during this season we've talked a lot. We've discussed this Delhi pollution thing a few days ago, so I'm not gonna repeat it again. But the thing is, it's very poor, and nobody knows how that would be solved. The insight is that while Haryana's stubble burning has reduced by 81%, Punjab's stubble burning is happening unabated. So Punjab's farmers are directly responsible for killing Delhi people. That is the provocative statement that I have for you. I'll say it again. Haryana's stubble burning has reduced by 81%. In the meanwhile, Punjab's stubble burning is going unabated, which means Punjab's farmers are directly responsible for killing people of Delhi. Right? If anybody wants to take me to the court, I'm very happy to do that. These people are killers, plain and simple. There's a question. about China's chip to counter Nvidia. Would world trust those chips like how they do with Nvidia chips? Even if they don't, right? Uh, there is going to be a market for that, Mr. Money. So it's about taking the market away. Trust or no trust, that's okay. But somebody's got to take it, right? Because if they're cheap, and even if they figure out a way to reduce the dependence on Nvidia, right, it's going to be a problem, right? Mr. Math Metropolis, where are you watching chat? It's on YouTube. Well, that's a weird question. But anyway, moving on, folks. Moving on. Delhi is an interesting place. Delhi winters used to be beautiful, right? Delhi summers are unforgiving. Rains are okay, but summers are unforgiving. So from April, May, June, right? It's so hot. Then July, August, you have a bit of rains. You also have a bit of rains, in those months. But March, April, May, June, July, and even August, they're so hot, right? It's almost unlivable. Then there's September, October, November, December, January, February. These are the most beautiful months. These months define the beauty of Delhi, right? The romance of Delhi as a city. These are the months. They killed these months, man. um, Mr. Money says AMD has cheaper chips, but their CUDA system is hard lock. Anyway, thanks for taking the question. No problem. And you're right. The CUDA ecosystem is a pretty solid play. But what Peter Thiel sir said, that is that it's temporary. It's temporary. So it's not that it doesn't exist. It of course does, and it's doing very well. Glad for Nvidia, right? But it should be temporary, is what Mr. Peter Thiel's analysis said. So my when I gave that bit, my point was not that Nvidia's thing is temporary. My point was whether Mr. Peter Thiel's prediction comes true, because he's so good at predicting things. Whether it'll come true or not was the question which I was posing to everybody. And I was only offering his perspective. So his perspective on Nvidia is not entirely my perspective. I think these things might just be harder than uh, you know anticipated to do, but that's what he says. So I hope that clears it. Mr. Abhishek Sharma has a question. On Delhi pollution, you mentioned that one of the reason is change in crop cycle. Cannot government go back to earlier cycle to tackle this? Says Mr. Abhishek. No, Mr. Sharma, because the water levels down, the decrease in water levels for these states are also an equally serious problem, if not more. In fact, yeah, that's the right way to put it. It's an equally serious problem, if not more. If there's a water crisis across Punjab and Haryana, you can imagine how bad things might just happen, right? So they had to do what they had to do. It's just that Delhi has not been able to manage it. And stubble burning should not be a problem. So you know what? My friend, I have a friend called Arpit Dhupar. He's a very nice guy. And he is running a company called Dharaksh. So what his company does is, it basically collects stubble, right? And he collects stubble and makes thermocol out of it, a thermocol replacement product out of it, right? So what happens is, if you take stubble, right, and you crush it and you mix it with water and you do some tissue culture thing, its properties change, right? And then you put it in a dye, and then you have like this whole replacement of thermocol. So that way you can have the stubble, you won't have to burn the stubble, and that stubble essentially gets used in a very important product, which is thermocol. Now thermocol is of course plastic, right? So anything that reduces the use of thermocol, that's a good news. So in one way you will reduce thermocol, in the other way you'll use paddy, the stubble, and that's a I mean, he's trying to build a great company, but the problem is scale is a problem when it comes to these things, right? So it's very hard to scale such an operation. And of course there is not a clear what do you say, delta for money wise to adopt these things, right? So the only people who are able to buy that stubble thermocol are like very big companies who are mandated by green norms to buy such a thing, right? So if they are mandated by green norms, they are buying. Small people won't buy, small traders won't buy. So their market also gets restricted because it's not cheap to make thermocol out of paddy, right? Or let's say replacement of thermocol out of paddy. But a lot of things were supposed to happen. Nothing happened. It's just the same story every year, right? With everyone calling bubble, is there something smart money know that we don't? We've talked a lot about this, Mr. Money. It's not, I mean, it's like they gonna control all that, says Mr. Matt Metropolis. I don't understand that. Moving on, Ultratech's JSW Steel sees stronger consumption in H2 on lower rates, pent up demand. So JSW Steel killing it, right? Automotive sector. So two sectors define steel. One is of course automotive, and then the core requirement, right? The festive season and the GST rate cut is giving people confidence to step out and buy, right? So no changes, but rate of cement and discretionary products, they are leading to second order effects, which is leading to more steel consumption. So let's say if you wanted construction to pace up and you reduce the GST on cement, would it lead to more consumption of steel? That is the question, right? And people who don't understand second order effects that we discuss every day, they'd say no, steel would be okay, right? That's what people think about, right? That the GST on cement came down, okay, but GST on steel didn't come down. So people, while analyzing the steel industry, paint a projection which is bleak, saying that, oh, GST didn't affect that. But that's because they don't understand second order effect. If the GST on cement is going down, where is that money going to get used? You're not just going to buy cement without steel, right? So that's what's happening. And a lot of good news for JSW. Also good news for Ultratech Cement. Fixed costs to drop in the current quarter. So Ultratech, JSW sharing good news. That's awesome. That's awesome. Indian exports declined to US in September, but 24 countries went up. So what did I tell you about? The ways to deal with the tariff situation. How do you deal with the tariff situation? You offset the losses that you'll make in US by pitching more to the existing countries, right? You start pitching more to the existing countries. That's exactly what's happening. Moving on. Finance Ministry has stepped in asking PSBs to tackle employee stress because there's a lot of stress in the public sector banks. But there's a joke in SBI, right? Lunch ke baad aana. Nobody talks about SBI stress. They always say lunch ke baad aana. And that jokes never gets old, right? But apparently these people, the PSB guys, are made to do a lot of non-banking work as well, the government stuff. And due to that, it leads to a lot of weird, ungodly hours, right? Which is basically what they're trying to solve for. Speaking of what they're trying to solve for, highway construction has slowed down in FY26. 6-year low. Highway construction down, 6-year low. Highway construction was pacing up very by leaps and bounds. So earlier we used to make like 9 kilometers per day of roads, right? That peaked up to 30, somewhere around 35, right? That's how fast we went ahead with road construction, highway construction, but that slowed down as everything which has been pacing up for years does, right? Land acquisition troubles are the reason for the slowing down. Land acquisition is a very big problem in the country. And if you remember, viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember, land acquisition was something that these people were looking at solving. You remember that? So that's that. In 2021, 10,457 kilometers of construction, right? 2022, 10,300, 2023, 12,000, 2024, 10,500, and 2025, 26, 9,000 to 10,000. So that's what's going on with road highway construction. A lot of scams also coming out in road construction. Now I can't fact check this, so I'm just giving you a disclaimer. But a very big authority, now I don't believe in authority bias either, but it's not an analysis. It's basically just a data point. So he said that uh, India's per capita spend on road construction is the highest in the world. He said that India spends the most amount of money on road construction, right? It's not just the money that you give to allotment of that road, it's also the money that he counted as the maintenance and rebuilding of a road is concerned. So he pointed out that because of corruption, right? They make bad quality roads and then they just tear it down, then they make it again, then they tear it down. And the effective cost of road construction, he did some math. He said it was 4x what they spend in Switzerland, and so on and so forth. And which I don't think is surprising. Do you think it's surprising? I don't think it's surprising because the kind of roads we make and the kind of roads that other people make, if you go to any other country, right? They have very old roads. Our roads are always new roads and always bad roads. So we are always doing bad work because of corruption. And it's funny that we are spending like 4x the amount of money developed countries make, right? Uh, Spend in roads. It's just unbelievable. So, although Mr. Abhishek Sharma says, although not surprising, this is huge. Indeed, indeed. So, what we can do is to analyze, if we are to analyze this, we can basically do some math, right? So, what we can do is we have the center spend on roads, right? And we have a state spend on roads, okay? And what we can do is we can calculate the net addition of roads. So new roads are the net addition where the land acquisition is happening. So net addition of roads we can calculate, right, in a period of time. And then we can add the state and center and the district level expenditure on roads. And then we can calculate it and summate it and find out whether my sir was right, right? And I think it's gonna be right because I was reading about all the developed countries and all the highways that these people make. Interstate US highways are called interstate highways, right? Japanese highways, they're called something else, but all of those roads are essentially 30-40 year old roads and they are in mint condition. They're not bad at all, right? US roads have started declining, but even their decline is a dream for what we are dealing with. India, all roads are new and all of them are bad. Most of them are bad. So, a lot of corruption killing the roads of the country. The easiest way to make money in India is to get a government job in this particular play, right? Be a babu, and you'll have hundreds of crores getting minted. Moving on, folks. We've talked about the rare earth squeeze for a very long time, so not gonna do it again. Reliance is gonna gain, of course. 5G retail OTC, that's cool. We've talked about the spend, we've talked about stocks, we've talked about China, right? They are having a new party conclave to handle Trump tariff war, anti-graft drive, and other issues. So China's politicians meeting. They're not really politicians. They're a company, right? They're a party. Anyway, what did I tell you about the Israel-Hamas peace deal, folks? I told you it's to be taken with a pinch of salt, right? Ceasefire under threat. Israel hits Hamas targets. Health officials, 11 killed in airstrikes and tank fire across the enclave. So, no surprise to us. We saw this coming, right? As Mr. Jack Nicholson said in Departed, this ain't reality TV. So this is not reality TV. Anyway, 1 in 3 Indians fall victim to festive scams as cyber crooks take to AI. Well, that's okay. A lot of scams happening, folks. Be careful. Meesho is going public, raising $800 million. I don't know what's the valuation of Meesho that they are looking at. It's the first horizontal e-commerce platform to go IPO. It was a social commerce play, something like a Shopify, that you have your page and then you use that page to promote yourself. Let's say use your Instagram or use your WhatsApp to make sales on your store, right? That's how Meesho began. But then it became like a proper horizontal uh, uh, e-commerce platform. And even though it claims to be profitable, so it's the only e-commerce platform that claims to be profitable. It has its own logistics company called Valmo, 60%. It's a pretty sturdy operation. However, it also has the highest number of cash and delivery share. So about 60, 70, 80% of its orders are processed by cash and delivery, which means the business has inherent problems, right? But the fact that they've been able to be profitable at that scale, right, is extraordinary. It's tremendous. It's just miraculously incredible, right? However, whenever I talk to any seller on Meesho, they say that it's a piece of shit, right? They don't make money. There are a lot of returns. There's a lot of scam happening on Meesho. It's a fraud platform. That's what I hear whenever I talk to any seller who sells on Meesho. But maybe my circle is not the right representation of the data. The company must be doing a lot of things right if it has reached this milestone. So I don't know what's the valuation that they're looking at, but they're looking at raising $800 million, 4,000 crores, about half a billion to go into primary capital, the rest for giving exit to investors. Mr. Abhishek Sharma says Meesho is targeting tier 3 4 cities, villages because of Meesho's own logistics arm. Ecom Express got sold. No, 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 no. Ecom Express was not Meesho's arm. Ecom Express was an independent company which got bought by Delivery. Their logistics arm is called Valmo, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Valmo. So that's not sold. So they are looking at tier 3, tier 4 because that's where Flipkart and Amazon are not that strong. That's the reason where they're going. But no, they were the main clients for Ecom Express. Okay, that's what you meant. So Mr. Sharma meant because of Meesho coming out with their own service, Ecom Express got sold. No, they stopped giving orders to Ecom Express. Mr. Sharman, while that might be a reason, that's not the reason why Ecom Express actually got sold. Ecom Express had a lot of problems. The biggest problem with Ecom Express which happened was that its founders died. The founder died, right? And then there was a management vacuum, right? So the best thing that can happen to you is that your company, the competitor implodes. So that's what happened to Delivery. Ecom Express was going to go IPO at $1 billion, but the founder passed away. And then there were business concerns as well, right? It's not like Ecom Express couldn't have navigated the loss of through the loss of Meesho as a client, but they couldn't do it. I'm sorry about that. They couldn't do it because of management problems. My God, what's happening? Anyway, so Allen has come out with its FY25 earnings, 41 crore profit down, revenue also down. Revenue and profit. Revenue was 3,200 crore in the last fiscal. It came down to 3,000 crores. Net profit plunged. Allen was going to take over. There were news of Allen taking over an academy, and I called BS on that news. I said Allen is never gonna take over an academy at that valuation. So they said Allen is gonna take over an academy at an $800 million valuation. And I said never gonna happen. And I wrote a huge piece which went viral. And at the end of the day, that's what happened. Allen refused to buy an academy. Right? Moving on, folks. AI music firm Suno is eyeing $2 billion valuation. These people, Suno makes songs on like AI. So you give a prompt and they make a song. These assholes, these nerds, these tasteless pieces of shit, right? They're gonna kill an art form. So screw these people. The startup is generating more than 100 million in annual recurring revenue. Uh, so a lot of there's not a lot of money to be made, by the way, in music licensing. So I don't know why these people are ruining an art form by getting involved, right? Music is not, it's not like music makes a lot of money. The entire industry now is back to being valued at $20 billion, about 23-24 billion, which was the valuation, which was the revenue it made in 1990. So for 30 years, 30 years to $26 billion, then it fell off the cliff, and now it's at 20-25 billion yet again. So it's not been able to even manage inflation, right? If just counting $23 billion of 1990 translates to about $76 billion today. So music as an industry doesn't make money through licensing. I don't know why these assholes, these nerds, these tasteless pieces of shit, want to make music. So they're just ruining music. They've never played a guitar in their lives, I'm sure. They don't have a taste for anything. They just want to ruin something because they can, right? So screw these people. I'm very tempted to rain an F word parade, right? But I'm gonna do it after the show. Moving on. And with that, we come to the end, folks. We've come to the end of Thinker's Frequency. Nintendo eyeing 25 Switch, 25 million units of Switch 2. Nintendo is a very inspiring company in my opinion. TSMC Arizona starts making NVIDIA AI chips. TSMC making NVIDIA in Arizona, very very necessary. You know what's happening, right? You know what's happening between US and China. So deleveraging from Taiwan is most important. And that's exactly what's happening. So yeah, we've covered everything, folks. We've covered everything. Not missing out on anything. And with that, we come to the end of the 147th episode of Thinker's Frequency. Our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis, which don't lead to paralysis, right before we punch in. It's 140. It's 9:24. Oh my God, we are late. We gotta punch in anytime soon. I wish you a beautiful day personally and professionally. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, hopefully. I wish everybody a happy Diwali. Mr. Abhishek Sharma says, thanks for your time. Happy Diwali, everyone. Happy Diwali to you. Mr. Tiwari, thank you. Mr. Magesh Mani, Mr. Sumant Kumar, Mr. Amrit Raj, Mr. Sumant Kumar, again. No, that was somebody else. Mr. Math Metropolis, and everybody else who joined. So happy Diwali, all of you. I wish you everything good this world has to offer, right? All the wealth, all the health, all the happiness, everything comes to you and your family. Please take care. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you. Bye-bye.